My name is Jason, and my career has been spent working in large corporations and also government. Recently I've found an interest and passion in activism, politics and the media, and a new friend has persuaded me to share my thoughts on a vlog. This is my vlog. It's about my life and challenging the stories that we're given about what is going on in our world. Investigative, thoughtful, fun. So this is how I usually start off my day. Cup of tea, bowl of cereal, bit of toast, often in a dressing gown, but I thought I'd better make an effort today, and of course the news. Before we get started, let's tidy up. So, what's the idea of my vlog? Having been really busy in the past, I never had time to question what's going on in the world around me. I'd pick up the news, take it all in, and not really question what was happening and why it was happening. And I thought it'd be useful if I threw in some ideas so that other people can have a bit more information to think about what's going on, rather than just having to take everything else at face value that we're given. I'm not saying for 1 minute that I'm always right. The idea is to share some thoughts, share some ideas, bounce off of each other, fathom out a little bit more what's going on. And I always think that talking to other people helps you develop ideas rather than just taking everything that's thrown at you. We need that discussion to actually move forward together. So, what am I going to do today? I'm going to pop into the BBC News, pick up what's on the front page, highlight things that we need to look at, then I'm going to go away, do some research, come back with some conclusions and see where we are with things. Okay, let's start with a rundown of the BBC News front page. First of all, we've got MPs call for Brexit plan white paper. Controversial one, that isn't it, for a first day vlog, so we'll leave Brexit, and we've probably all heard enough about it anyway, haven't we, to be honest. Grammars may ask parents for money. Schooling's supposed to be free, isn't it? Act to stop sexist dress rules, say MPs. Sex painful for nearly 1 in 10 women. That doesn't sound very nice, does it? Mistreatment of women's MPs revealed. So we've got a trend here. We've got act to stop sexist dress rules, say MPs. So we've got a picture of a lady in high heels there. We've got sex painful for nearly 1 in 10 women. And we've got mistreatment of women MPs revealed. And if you think about it, we had the Women's March on Saturday across the world. I wonder if they're making a bit more extra effort for women, or if there's something bubbling away underneath, but there's definitely a pattern, isn't there? There's 3 articles with similar content there. Britain shot dead in Porsche in Thailand. Why have they mentioned the brand of the car? Is it relevant? Superb Serena Williams ends Conta Hope. So another news story there focused on ladies. Do we really need inflatable Trump rooster is a hit with all the other things that are going on? It's just a bit of a distraction, isn't it? And we've got the reporters' features. Bit on bad air. So we went into London recently and we noticed, because we live out in the countryside, we noticed how different the air is there, and it was pretty horrible, and there were warnings in place on some of the signs, so people were being told to keep down their emissions. Raining inside, would you stay in a leaky hotel? Depends, what's leaking? Doesn't really matter too much, does it? So we've got a few there. Now what I'm going to do is open them up and have a little look in a bit more detail. Sex is painful for nearly 1 in 10 women, study finds. This article is basically about Dyspareunia, which is when sex is painful. It says the condition affects all ages, but it's more likely to affect women in their late 50s, early 60s, or who are between 16 and 24, so quite a massive range of ages really. It's linked to other problems including vaginal dryness, anxiety during sex and lack of enjoyment. The article seems quite well balanced. It starts with emotional factors and moves on to physical issues, and it mentions that treatment's available. It runs through a case study with a lady called Karen, not her real name, and says that basically women don't talk about this issue very much. It goes on to talking about lubricants, estrogen creams and pessaries, and also says that sex education should do more to help people avoid the issue of painful sex. Overall, it seems like a good article, it's fairly well balanced, and it really brings to the forefront that we don't talk about these things enough. But I want to go away and have a look at the underlying research, because it's not entirely clear to me how the problems are caused, and I want to understand a bit more about the stakeholders in the research. As soon as I start reading about lubricants, estrogen creams, pessaries, these are all things that cost money. So I want to understand who's behind the research and why they've mentioned those things. I also want to see what conclusions they bring about sex education. Okay, next one. Grammar schools may ask parents for hundreds of pounds a year. This is about the majority of grammar schools being left worse off by proposed funding changes after there's been some cuts to budgets. There's mention of postcode lottery and school funding, so Why is there a postcode lottery in school funding? It's not really addressed here. The governors are considering asking for voluntary contributions of £30 or £40 per month. So depending on how you work that out, it's £270 to £480 per year. So quite a lot of extra money that's going to be looked for from parents potentially. And then at the end, the head teacher's talking about making cuts to arts in order to support the funding deficit. So basically, school budgets are being cut. What's going to happen as a result? People are going to have to pay some money voluntarily into the schools. Potentially some of the more creative aspects of school are going to be cut back on in order to cope with the cuts that are being put in place. So what I want to know really, is this all about funding cuts? What's the F40 thing that's mentioned? Why are grammar schools being focused on? Surely all the schools across the country, not just grammar schools, are going to be affected by cuts. And why are we only worried about Conservative constituencies? What about the other constituencies around the country? So on to the bad air headline. So the headline was "Bad air, are our cities killing us?" And you go on to the article itself, and the title is "Tomorrow's Cities, What Can Be Done to Improve Air Quality?" So they've used quite a shocking headline and then moved into questioning what the problem is and how we go about resolving it. The article talks about skyscrapers, traditional working methods of people being inside the office and potentially moving outside, and then pollution that is going on outside the buildings. The World Health Organization says that more than 80% of people living in urban areas that monitor air pollution are exposed to air quality levels that exceed World Health Organization limits. So that's potentially worrying, isn't it? I mean, we don't know how the World Health Organization set their limits and what those limits are, but if a limit is being broken, then one would hope that that's flagging up something that's an issue. The article mentions that pollution hits low-income areas the worst, and that some countries and places are tackling this using electric buses. In London they're going to build a green bridge, people are putting in vertical gardens, and in China they've got trees. So it's interesting that the headline, what can be done to improve air quality, doesn't look at the root causes, and the feeder off the front page, are our cities killing us, hasn't really been addressed. Are they killing us? Yes or no? Doesn't mention it in the article.